It's finally happening. A new SASSA rule coming into effect on July 15th could deeply impact thousands of families across South Africa, especially households receiving multiple grants. Many people still don't know what this new regulation truly means for them. But the truth is, it's not just a minor administrative change. It could lead to penalties and reduced payments if families aren't careful. Under this new rule, SASSA is tightening its checks on families who receive more than one grant within a household, for example, an older person's grant, child support grants, and disability grants, all being paid to the same address. The government says this is to ensure fairness and prevent fraudulent claims. However, for genuine families relying on these grants for daily survival, groceries, electricity, medication, and rising transport costs, this could become a nightmare if not handled properly. Officials have confirmed that households will now be monitored more closely. If SASSA finds that there is a lack of correct documentation proving the eligibility of each grant recipient, or if family structures are misrepresented, penalties could include suspended payments until full investigations are completed. And we all know how long SASSA investigations take, weeks or months, with no income, which is devastating for families already struggling with the high cost of living and food inflation. This rule isn't about taking grants away from the poor, it's about verifying data, but mistakes happen. Imagine your grandchild's child support grant being stopped because of an address error, or your disability grant frozen due to an unverified medical record. These are real risks that South African families will face from July 15th if they don't update all their documents in time, confirm their grant details, and keep proof of every dependency and address. In today's video, we will break down exactly what this new rule means, why SASSA is implementing it, and the step-by-step solutions you must follow this week to avoid losing your vital payments. Don't wait for a suspension, SMA. Stay ahead by understanding how these checks work and how your household can remain protected under the new system rolling out nationwide. So let's begin by understanding exactly why SASSA is bringing in this new rule on July 15th. Many people are asking, why now? What's the real reason behind these tighter checks and possible penalties? Well, the truth is that for the past few years, the government has been under pressure to reduce fraudulent claims and close loopholes in the grant system. There have been cases reported in the media of individuals claiming grants for people who do not live with them, or even using the details of deceased family members to continue receiving payments. But while these stories are shocking, they represent only a small fraction of the millions of genuine beneficiaries across South Africa who depend on their grants to live with dignity. Unfortunately, what happens is that when the government decides to crack down on fraud, the process affects everyone, not just the wrongdoers. And that's where this new rule comes in. Under the upcoming regulation, households with multiple grants will be cross-checked to ensure that each grant is legally claimed and paid to the rightful recipient. If there is any suspicion or incomplete documentation, families could face penalties including suspended or reduced payments until investigations are finalized. Now, I know for a fact that many seniors watching this video today are living in multi-generational homes. Perhaps you are an older person receiving your old age pension, living with your daughter who is receiving a disability grant, and your grandchildren who receive child support grants. This is a very normal South African household structure. It is rooted in our cultural practices where grandparents often take care of grandchildren and children take care of elderly parents. But under this new rule, even such genuine households will need to ensure all documentation is up to date to avoid being penalized. So what exactly do you need to do to protect your grants? First, it is essential to understand that SASSA will be checking everything from ID numbers, home addresses, proof of residence, medical certificates for disability grants, and birth certificates for child support grants. These checks are going to be done digitally in many cases, linked to the Home Affairs system. But we all know the Home Affairs system is not perfect. Errors in address records or outdated information could trigger a suspension, even if you've done nothing wrong. That's why it is critical from today to gather all your documents and keep them safe in one place. Make copies and have them ready for quick submission if SASSA requests them. In addition to documentation, another thing that many people overlook is the importance of keeping their contact details updated. Imagine if SASSA tries to call you or send an SMS requesting a missing document, and your phone number has changed or is switched off for weeks. You will not receive the notification and your grant could be suspended simply because you didn't respond in time. So today, check if your phone number and physical address are correctly registered with SASSA. Go to your local office if you are unsure, or call their toll-free number to verify. Many families are also worried about what SASSA means when they say penalties. Does it mean fines, repayments, or just temporary suspensions? From the information available so far, the penalties will mostly include the freezing of grant payments while investigations are ongoing. However, if it is discovered that a grant was claimed fraudulently, SASSA can demand repayment of those funds, and in some cases, they can open criminal charges. This is why it is so important to be truthful and accurate in every claim. If your grandchild no longer lives with you, their child support grant cannot continue to be claimed under your household. If your disability condition has improved, SASSA will require medical reassessment for continuation of your grant. These are harsh realities, but knowing them helps us prepare better. Another concern raised by many people is how this rule will impact households already under financial stress. Let's be honest, the old age pension grant of R2,180 per month is not enough for rent, groceries, electricity, transport, and medication. Many seniors use part of their grant to buy food for grandchildren and pay for school needs. Now imagine if your grant or your grandchild's grant is stopped for 3 months due to an investigation. What will happen in that household? The consequences could be catastrophic, leading to hunger, inability to pay municipal bills, and worsening mental health due to anxiety and depression. This is why awareness is so important right now. You see, knowledge is power. If you are watching this video today, you are already one step ahead because you will not be caught by surprise. You can use this information to prepare your documents, check your details, and warn other family members about what is coming. If your daughter is receiving a disability grant and she lives with you, remind her to keep her medical certificate up to date and to attend any reassessment appointments. If you are receiving a child support grant on behalf of your grandchild, make sure their birth certificate and your guardianship proof are safely stored and ready if SASSA requests it. I want to talk to you about another important aspect, the emotional stress that these changes cause. Many older persons in South Africa already live with high levels of stress due to financial insecurity. Every month, you worry about whether the grant will come on time, whether you will have enough for your blood pressure pills, or whether your grandchildren will have food for school. Now, with this new rule, there is an added fear of penalties and suspensions. It is normal to feel overwhelmed, but remember that staying informed is the best way to reduce anxiety. This video and other verified sources will keep you updated so you can act calmly and confidently. Some viewers have asked, what if my documents are lost? What if Home Affairs records are incorrect? In these cases, it is best to start resolving the issue now rather than wait for July 15th. Visit your nearest Home Affairs office to correct any errors in your ID or birth certificate records. If your proof of address is outdated, you can get a new one from your local municipality or even request a letter from your ward councillor confirming your residence. If you lost your medical certificate for a disability grant, make an appointment with your clinic or hospital to request a replacement as soon as possible. Time is critical here. Another question raised is about foster care grants and how they fit into this new rule. The foster care grant, like other grants, will also be under scrutiny to ensure it is being claimed for children genuinely under foster care with a court order. If you are a foster parent or grandparent, make sure your court-ordered documents are up to date and filed safely. SASSA may request them anytime under the new verification procedures. We also need to talk about the broader economic context because it affects how families experience these changes. South Africa's unemployment rate remains one of the highest in the world, with food inflation hitting poor households hardest. When government policies change, even with good intentions, they often have unintended consequences for people who are already struggling to make ends meet. This is why advocacy groups are calling on SASSA to implement these new rules with compassion and clear communication, rather than sudden suspensions that push families deeper into poverty. If you are thinking of applying for a new grant soon, keep in mind that these rules will apply to you too. Make sure your application is accurate, your documents are complete, and your bank account details are correctly captured to avoid delays. Many grant payment delays are not due to SASSA errors, but due to missing or mismatched details in applications. Another important reality is that some families live in rural areas far from SASSA offices. If you live in a rural area and your grant is suspended, it'll be difficult to travel long distances to submit documents, especially if you are elderly or disabled. This is why it is wise to prepare now while you still have time before the July 15th implementation. Keep an envelope with all your documents ready, make photocopies, and tell your children or neighbors where to find them in case you fall ill and cannot go yourself. People also worried about scams. Yes, unfortunately, whenever there is a major SASSA announcement, scammers use it to steal from vulnerable people. Be careful of SMSes, phone calls, or WhatsApp messages claiming to be from SASSA asking for your PIN, password, or ID number. SASSA will never ask for these details over the phone or WhatsApp. If in doubt, visit your local SASSA office directly to confirm any communication you receive. Protect yourself and your money from fraudsters taking advantage of this situation. At this point, some of you might be feeling frustrated, thinking we are the ones suffering while the corrupt politicians continue living in luxury. This frustration is valid, but we must remain focused on what is within our control, staying calm, keeping your documents ready, and making sure your household details are correct will protect you when this rule comes into effect. At the same time, advocacy groups continue fighting for fair treatment of grant beneficiaries, ensuring the government implements these changes responsibly. One thing I can assure you is that we will continue covering every update on this channel so that you never miss critical information about your grants. In future videos, we will discuss how to appeal a grant suspension, what to do if your payment is delayed, and how to apply for alternative support if your household income is suddenly reduced due to SASSA penalties. This is your platform to stay informed and empowered in real time. As we approach July 15th, remember to speak to your family members about this rule. Many people don't watch the news or follow social media, so they remain unaware until their grant is suddenly stopped. Have a conversation at home today. Ask your children, grandchildren, or other relatives receiving grants whether their details are up to date. Share the knowledge you gain from this video to protect your entire household. Finally, always remember that these grants are your right. You worked hard for this country, raised families, and contributed to your communities. You deserve dignity and respect, not fear and uncertainty. By staying informed and prepared, you can continue to receive your payments smoothly, avoid penalties, and live with the peace of mind you truly deserve.